Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next The Promised Neverland anime review. This one's going to be for episode 5.5, which is called, special episode guidepost or something like that. It's a recap episode. They gave us a recap episode in an 11 episode season where they've been skipping over pretty much all of the content they should be adapting. That is not a good look. And I get it. Certain anime decide that they have to, by default, include a recap episode, so you just expect it to be part of the run. But you've only got 11 episodes, and if I remember correctly, The Promised Neverland Season 2 was meant to be out like the previous season. Like, we probably should have started this season like a few months back, but it was delayed into this season. So, was there no way they could have just, skipped over doing this recap episode? Because it really offered nothing. Occasionally recap episodes can at least give some insight into what's going on because the recap is done by the characters from the present reflecting on the past, and you get a few extra little bits. Similarly, The Promised Neverland doesn't seem to do previews, so there was no point even tuning into this episode to the end to see the preview for episode 6 because they weren't giving you one. So nothing at all on offer, and I think the biggest probably insight into that was the fact that they didn't just recap the 5 episodes we've had of Season 2. They felt the need to recap Season 1 as well at the start. And while they only spent a few minutes right at the beginning of the episode going over Season 1 stuff, they still did that, and that's the most telling thing of all. That is the thing that highlights the most that you did not need to do a recap episode. Season 2 has barely covered any ground at all. Like, literally, we run through a forest, we meet Sanju and Mujika, they tell us stuff about the world, we go into the shelter, and we spend time in the shelter doing shelter things, and then we run away and we're in the demon world, and we learn stuff about the demon world. Like, that's what's happened this season. They skipped over all of the nuance, all of the details, all of the characters, and the emotional arcs, pretty much. Sanju and Mujika is the only notable thing that has happened so far in the season. And that's what the recap also lingered on. This was utterly pointless and was absolutely not what this show needed. It's already just disliked for what it has done to the content it should have been, and people are angry at it for doing that. Having this be a recap episode and be so pointless just has people double down on that. And it's hard to just, I think, take any optimism away from Season 2 of The Promised Neverland at this point, because it feels like there's just no real effort going into this. They're putting in the bare minimum that they need to wrap up this series. And I suppose that's the only real thing to talk about before the end of the video is just, okay, we're coming back with episode 6 next week, and we're going to get the end of the season, and I'm guessing the end of the show. I don't see any way at this point that this show's coming back to get confirmed for a Season 3. I don't know if it has been confirmed that for sure this is going to be the last season of The Promised Neverland, but the reaction to this season has to have been noted, and I'd be surprised if they don't finish the story with the remaining episodes. I'd be surprised if they left it open to attempt to get a Season 3. It seems like they just want to get this out of the way. So can they, in 6 more episodes, finish the series? It's going to be exceptionally difficult. Very, very difficult to do. Next week's episode is going to have to be Norman explaining what happened to him, how he's survived, what he's been doing in the last year, the story to coincide with what the kids have been doing. After that, though, is the probably interesting thing. Have we just skipped right to the end of the story and we're basically going into the final arc, or are we going back to tell some other stories? That's the big question that we're going through here. So, are we actually going to do the sort of attack on demon society, taking out the nobles arc, or are we skipping straight to the go back to Gracefield House arc? Because the Gracefield House attack is probably what you probably should do if you want to end the series while giving it the time it needs. If they rush through the Attack on Demon Society plus Graceful House arc in 6 episodes, that's insane if they're going to even be able to do that at all. So my guess is just that we'll get Norman's backstory, and then we're jumping straight into probably going to get Phil and the others. That, to me, is the only way you can make this work. Unless you are going to announce that there is a season 3 to cover more content. But you've already skipped over a lot of the interesting stuff, so what exactly is going on? So yeah, I'll be back next week with the review for episode 6. Very little to say about this recap episode. Very pointless, like a lot of the decisions that have been made with The Promised Neverland season 2. So yeah, it's just you think it can't get any worse, and then boom, they do this. So hopefully they don't make it even worse as they go on. Like, once they're adapting some content that is related to the manga, I think we should be like, okay, at least there's going to be something that we're familiar with. But like right now we're just like, what are you doing? How anime original is this actually going to be? Because if they make some really substantial changes, like it potentially seems like they might be doing with like Isabella, then we're going to have some, I suppose, even bigger problems. Because it's one thing just sort of skipping over content and like reordering content, but if you're actually going to make character arcs like completely different, that's when you're really going to upset people. But yeah, that's the video. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on this recap episode and just The Promised Neverland Season 2 in general. But that has been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.